we have a major announcement on the Noah Hanifin trade. As we will get to those details momentarily, I'm your host, Ryan O'Donnell, and this is Flames Digest. If you're new around here, please subscribe to our channel for all the latest news, reports, and rumors regarding your Calgary Flames. First things first, well, the Flames complete Hanifin blockbuster in a 3-team trade. And to get right into it, here's the full trade details. To Vegas, Noah Hanifin, 75% retained, with Calgary retaining 50% of that and the Philadelphia Flyers retaining 25% of that, which is huge for Vegas because it creates cap space for them, of course, and which they would like to go and add maybe another forward. The Calgary Flames receive a conditional 2025 first-round pick, Daniil Miromanov, who's a 26-year-old right-shot defenseman, and a conditional third-round pick, which is also in 2025. To the Flyers, they receive a 2024 fifth-round pick, which that is, of course, because they are retaining 25% of Noah Hanifin's salary. The condition on the 2025 first is unless Vegas trades it this deadline, which they very well could. They've been rumored to be involved in talks with the St. Louis Blues for Pavel Buchnevich or with the Pittsburgh Penguins for Jake Gensel and a couple other names as well. If that is the case, if they do in fact trade it in one of those trades, then obviously they won't have their 2025 first-round pick, so it gets moved to 2026. The condition on the third-round pick that's going to Calgary is it upgrades to a second if Vegas wins one round. That's it, just one round in the 2024 postseason. So a pretty good chance that Calgary will in fact receive a 2024 a 2025 second round pick, of course, with Vegas. I mean, they're a cup favorite right now. There's a good chance they could play the Oilers in the first round, which, boy, that would be a great reunion of a series and a doozy at that. Obviously, no guarantees that they get by the Oilers, but there's a decent chance that Vegas will, in fact, make the second round. If that's the case, Flames fans will be happy to receive a first and second round pick from the Vegas Golden Knights, as well as defenseman Daniil Miromanov. So let's get to the last piece of this trade. The Flyers have sent the rights to reserve list player Mikhail Vorobyov to the Vegas Golden Knights to complete the paper part of the deal. He had 41 points in 61 games in the KHL this season, actually played in 35 NHL games with the Flyers. Vegas controls Vorobyov's rights through June 30th. Probably a very small piece of the trade. Unlikely he's going to come over and play in the NHL. More so just, as Frank Saravelli mentions, just to make the paper part of the deal work and the contracts throughout the league with the 50 contract maximum. So let's get to the major piece of this deal. First, it's obviously Noah Hanifin. And Hanifin has really had a coming out party this year. And yes, he's always been a top 4 defenseman since being drafted and playing with the Carolina Hurricanes. A smooth skating defenseman. Has a pretty good first pass. He's got a pretty solid shot as well. But his offensive side of his game has really emerged this season. And obviously he set a career high in goals this year now with 11, I believe it is. And had a huge 3-point night in the Battle of Alberta a couple weeks back in the Flames' victory over the Oilers. So that was big. And I give him kudos. He really played some excellent hockey over the last number of weeks, knowing that he, in all likelihood, unless his socks were absolutely blown off, was unlikely to re-sign in Calgary. Of course, that report on Monday night came out that Ryan Leslie didn't exactly believe it was a done deal, that he was for sure going to leave the Calgary Flames, but he does in fact leave the Flames. That'll be a massive hole on their blue line for the time being. But Hanifin is going to an excellent team and a definite cup contender again this season, looking to repeat after winning the Stanley Cup last season in the Vegas Golden Knights. And Hanifin, he's going to get a chance in all likelihood on their top pairing alongside Alex Pietrangelo, as Alec Martinez is likely to be placed on long-term injured reserve, which again would create even more cap space for the Vegas Golden Knights to intertwine with potentially between now and Friday's trade deadline. They've been in talks with Buchnevich, or at least the St. Louis Blues, about Buchnevich, and potentially even with Pittsburgh about Jake Gensel. I would think only one or the other happens, but there's a pretty good chance that Vegas is, in all likelihood, is going to add a forward to that group as well. Markstrom, his status still up in the air on if he'll return this season. By all accounts, it seems pretty unlikely at this point. A really nasty spleen injury, it seems, that Markstrom suffered a couple weeks back on a hit. Not a dirty hit, but a really hard hit. So Vegas still an absolute wagon. They're going to be a tough out, whoever has to play them. And if you can't beat the champs, you're not going to be the champs. So we'll see where that goes with Noah Hanifin in Vegas. But he's really established himself as a top pairing defenseman this season. And but in all likelihood, he's going to get an opportunity to play as on a top pairing with the defending Cup champs in the Vegas Golden Knights. Doubt he plays on their top power play unit because they obviously have Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo, but I would think he gets a decent opportunity on their second power play unit and should be a pretty big part on their penalty kill. So, to another piece of the trade, wrong button that time, and that is Daniil Miromanov. And Miromanov, he's a 26-year-old right shot defenseman, and Miromanov, well, these are stats from the QMJHL to the KHL to the VHL to Czechia, the Czech Second League, the ECHL for a little bit, back to the VHL, the KHL, some international in there. But he's played well in the AHL and the NHL, and basically in any league he's played in, he's put up pretty solid numbers. Even in his limited role in the NHL, last season in just 14 games, he had 6 points, and he was on Vegas's power play. So I'm interested to see what kind of role he gets with the Flames. I think there's a very good chance he's going to be on their, at least in their top 6. If not, I would think he's definitely, or if he's not, I think he's got a good chance to be in their top 4, but if not, he's definitely going to be in their top 6 in my opinion. I think he gets some power play time. And we'll see what Craig Conroy's comments are coming up on this trade. But who would have thought he'd be the first guy of the two to sign an extension in this trade? Well, that is in fact the case. Daniil Miromanov signs a 2-year extension with the Calgary Flames, carrying an annual average of $1.25 million. His biggest payday of his NHL career. And in all likelihood, I would think his life to this point as well. So Miromanov, an offensive defenseman. He's flourished in the AHL and junior, in the KHL offensively. We'll see with an increased role if he can in the NHL for a sustained period of time. So let's get to Craig Conroy's comments on this trade. It was extremely important to us to ensure this deal featured a first-round draft pick and a third-round pick that has the potential to become a second-round selection. Additionally, we have been tracking Daniil the past couple of seasons, and we are pleased to have been able to ensure he was part of this trade. He has good size at 6'4", with good skating ability and speed. He commands a heavy shot, makes quick plays, and we are excited about his offensive upside. At the AHL level, he has been dominant in creating offense as a defenseman, and we anticipate that to translate to the NHL. Well, just as I was echoing before, that Miromanov has contributed at every single level offensively, even in his limited time in the NHL. Now, the draft picks involved in this trade, and it's complicated, so let's get into it. Eric Francis of Sportsnet says, exact complicated conditions of the Flames deal. A conditional first-round pick in the 2025 NHL draft, a conditional third-round pick in the 2025 NHL draft, and defenseman Daniil Miromanov from Vegas in exchange for Noah Hanifin in a 3-way deal involving Philadelphia. Calgary will retain 50% of Noah Hanifin's salary. Condition: in this event, Vegas possesses their own first-round choice in the 2025 NHL draft on March 10th. 2024, and in the event Vegas's 2025 first round choice is not a top 10 pick, i.e. picks 11 to 32 inclusive. In the 2025 NHL draft, after the 2025 NHL draft lottery results, Vegas shall convey their own 2025 first round choice to Calgary. In the event Vegas does not possess their own first round choice in the 2025 NHL draft due to the above noted conditions, Vegas shall convey their own 2026 first round choice to Calgary. Condition: in the event Vegas advances to the second round of the 2024 NHL playoffs, Vegas shall convey their second round choice in the 2025 NHL draft in lieu of 2024 third round choice. Whoa, that's confusing. I think I got the gist of it for the most part. Not sure if you do, but regardless, we're going to find out, and it's a first and a third guaranteed at some point down the road from the Vegas Golden Knights to the Calgary Flames. And I talked to a couple scouts tonight, and one of them said this draft this season, it's not very deep, it's top heavy. Down the road, the 2025 looks like a really strong draft, and 2026 looks like an even better draft, and of course potential for Gavin McKenna with a first overall pick in that draft. But regardless, I think that is a very key side note of this trade, that the Flames collect first in either 2025 or 2026, and even that third that can become a second in 2025. I mean, it seems very minuscule, but I think this is huge in this trade because the draft this year doesn't seem to be too deep, seems top heavy, whereas the next 2 years, very strong drafts. So kudos to Craig Conroy for making sure he could collect those picks in those years instead of this year. So Conroy's trades, it's crazy to see what he's done over the last few months, and he's got to be, I know he doesn't have too much hair, no jokes aside to him, but he's got to be getting gray wherever he does. So monster job, this is what Frank Saravelli says, a monster job by Flames general manager Craig Conroy in some really difficult circumstances, and I completely agree. When you look at the guys out, not one of them outside of Chris Tanev, by all accounts, was willing to re-sign in Calgary. So out is all pending unrestricted free agents, which is key. Tyler Toffoli, Nikita Zadorov, Elias Lindholm, Chris Tanev, Noah Hanifin. In, they got 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, 4 thirds, a fourth, a fifth, Yegor Sharangovich, who's over 20 goals already this season with about 20 games to go in the season, Andrei Kuzmenko, who's had his ups and downs so far in Calgary, but hasn't been too bad, Artem Grushnikov, who is the defenseman who came over from the Dallas Stars, who they have some high potential for. Yanni Yermo, who's a potential depth defenseman down the road. Daniil Miromanov, who we just talked about. And Hunter Burstowicz, who could be a very offensive defenseman. And the 1/3 of those 4 third-round picks could turn into a second. And the 1/4 could turn into a third. So some very, very interesting tidbits. And what a job, in my opinion, that at least Craig Conroy has done to collect assets. They now have so much depth, especially at the defense position as far as the future goes, with Burstowicz, Poirier, Moran, Miromanov. Miromanov, I guess, not really much of the future. He's 26 already, but you never know. Could be around for the long haul. And then also on defense, you got Ilya Solovyov, Jan Kuznetsov, Yanni Yermo, Artem Grushnikov. There's so much to like about what the Flames have collected for guys who didn't want to be in Calgary and aren't going to be part of the future as is. Thanks for tuning in, and good night.